history of orthotics and prosthetic has been one traditionally of craftsmen and artisans. We were makers and tinkerers. We did a bunch of stuff in the lab and kind of creating things with our hands. If you look at this slide here, a lot of this is wood, leather, metal. And, we still use some of these materials, but a lot of that stuff has changed in our past, in our recent past, if you kind of think about it. So around 1945 or the Second World War, we had a lot of technological development. Unfortunately, conflict is a big driver of advancement in our career because we have a lot of amputations and injuries. But the current state of the art reflects kind of a mixture of that craftsman and artisan, but also we're very much a science as well. We're definitely a part of that allied health member team. And we kind of reflect that in our profession today. We reflect that healthy mix of science and art. So we'll see that in our materials and methods and the psychomotor skills that we retain, so meaning our hand skills, the ability to manipulate anatomy, to actually fabricate and adjust things. But again, we are one of those allied health members, which means we have to be very familiar with anatomy, the biomechanics. We have to know how certain materials react with the patient and how those external moments will affect internal moments. And the days of kind of whittling a socket out of wood is pretty much gone. You might see some people doing that for kind of the craftsman, the fun of it, the art of it. But most practitioners these days are not whittling sockets out of wood. We're using modern techniques like scanning. We're using materials like plaster of Paris or fiberglass to take anatomical molds. We're also using materials like carbon fibers and different types of composites to increase strength and reduce weight. Depending on where you are in this profession, you could be doing anything from plaster molds to 3D imaging and creating all of your prosthetics and devices online in a digital format, or you could be doing kind of a healthy mixture of that. It really kind of depends on what you want to do in this profession. But currently, we have a lot of options and a lot of, I think, really interesting and cool avenues to really kind of explore the science and the art of orthotics and prosthetics. So if some of you are kind of coming to this field from, maybe you wanted to be a physical therapist or occupational therapist, you want to be an allied health team, but you kind of decided against it, and you heard about this profession, I would say the big difference about orthotics and prosthetics is that we're much more hands-on. We have physical products that we make, right? So we help fabricate or produce. So you're going to be clinicians coming to this program, and you'll have technicians that do a lot of fabrication for you, but you're still going to be involved in that process and that physical device, modifying it, training your patient with it. I think that's kind of one of the big differences about our profession, the allied health team. And what I actually really enjoy about it is being able to work with a person and the equipment to kind of make that person more independent and more mobile, okay? And in fact, I didn't really introduce myself very well into this at the beginning of this, but the reason why I really appreciate all this is that, I'm an amputee myself, so I've kind of dealt with some of this personally. And again, that's kind of how I got into it, but I really think just being able to give a physical device to someone and work with them with that is just really rewarding. You get immediate feedback. It's really kind of a great part of this profession. Okay, so the evolving field of orthotics and prosthetics, a lot of this stuff we got listed on here is kind of already here in some extent, right, to some degree. But moving forward, we're going to see a lot more of additive manufacturing or 3D printing, right? So we already see quite a bit of that in our profession. But that technology has now finally gotten to a point where, we're going to see that becoming, potentially the dominant form of fabrication in our profession. Now, everyone thinks it's going to happen, next year, 5 years from now. But typically those things take a little bit more time. So definitely probably within your career, but my guess is, 20-ish years or so before that price of that technology and the materials kind of work itself out. But that's a big one for us, that additive manufacturing. And we'll talk about, in this program specifically at CSUDH, we really emphasize both traditional, meaning working with plaster of Paris, fiberglass, and with our hands, evaluating in those traditional methods. And we really emphasize the new digital workflow because we know when you leave here, it all depends on where you go, which one you're going to be doing when you start your residency. So we want you to be very well prepared for that and competent. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But we emphasize both of those really, really well in this program. So out of manufacturing, digital workflow, your electronic medical records, all of that's been around. And all this technology has been in play for a little bit, but we're going to see more of it and developing it, or we're going to see it developing more into the profession as well. So things like microprocessor control devices, again, those have been around for a while, but now we're starting to see actual powered devices. So the power knee from Rio, or the power foot from, well, it was Biome, now bought out by Autobach, but I think it's called Empower. But we're going to see a lot more of those devices, a lot more technologically advanced devices instead of some of these passive devices that we've been used to. And that's going to create a lot of, again, opportunity for individuals who are really into technology and developing that or working with it. And again, these brain-machine interfaces, again, they've been around for a while, but we're starting to see those develop more and more. So myoelectric, if you don't know what that is kind of a way of reading muscle action over the skin, and it'll send a signal to a prosthetic device, like the bottom left-hand corner there, that individual wearing prosthetic arms. They're actually kind of controlling those prosthetic arms by really kind of thinking about moving them and kind of sending an impulse through those muscles. And they were picking that up or sensing it and making that happen in the prosthesis itself. But, trying to read that over the skin, we have all types of interference. Now we have things like implantable electrodes. We have osseointegration that is allowing us to have a direct skeletal attachment to the body itself, right? So there's tons of new kind of really fun and interesting, and I think cool is the way I put it, really cool things coming down to our profession that's going to give us a lot of opportunity to work with a lot of different people and hopefully bring them a lot of independence and increase their quality of life in this profession. Opportunities within the profession, most of our students that come to this program get into the profession because they want to do clinical care, meaning they want to see patients. They want to see patients, evaluate, help them come up with that treatment plan that's going to get them back to their mobility, going back to school, help them with the grandchildren, whatever it is. But we're seeing patients to kind of make that difference in their life. And so within clinical care, we have kind of a couple different avenues, but that's kind of the big one for us. Then we have specializations that can be within clinical care itself, or maybe you're a researcher or an educator. But we have specializations here at this program. We do a few of them. One of the funner ones is kind of our veterinarian clinic that we do. And if you will pardon me, I'm just going to go back couple slides here. So in this program, we had a veterinary day. And if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, that's our little puppy, Elliot, that Muller and a bunch of our students have been making several sets of prosthetics for over the last year. And that puppy is actually, we found out about that one from a really philanthropic individual when it comes to saving dogs from different types of accidents and abuse. And I think she has like 12, and we're seeing like 3 or 4 at this point creating different devices for. So we're going to be doing quite a bit more of that, but that's built into your curriculum. So it's just pretty unique, pretty different. Honestly, most of you won't be doing veterinarian O&P, but if you can cast a doggo and it's yelping, then you can definitely cast a kiddo who doesn't want to be cast either. So, and we also do a pediatric day as well, and that's that top right-hand corner. We have a bunch of kids come in, different varying ages between like 8 and 15, and that's another big part of our curriculum, and just exposing you to all the different specializations within our profession. So again, specializations, technology. We have individuals now who are doing nothing but additive manufacturing. They're using the HP printers, 3D printers that are $500,000 and $10,000 a year to maintain, and that's their whole business, is kind of utilizing technology in O&P. And then we have research. What we'll do is we'll try to show you some of our research posters in the back in a little bit, but a lot of our students, every one of our students do research projects here, and a lot of them will win kind of one of the national awards or one of the college campus awards for their research. So we're getting some pretty good accolades for our research from our students. There's education within the field of orthotics and prosthetics. I never thought I would be an educator, but here I am. After working my way through the field, I ended up coming back here and teaching. We've been having a lot of fun doing it. But let's talk about some numbers, okay? So orthotics and prosthetics is going to have a comfortable living as far as a salary. Now, there's a couple different ways you can go in this profession, right? We try to encourage all of our students to be leaders in the field. We want you to be innovators and leaders, but these numbers right here, that median income of 90, let's just round it up to 96 in the middle there. That is for a practitioner who has graduated school and has about 3 to 5 years of experience with their certification. So $95,000, $96,000, that's pretty comfortable. $96,000, pretty comfortable living. You can definitely make more than that in several different ways if you want to be clinic managers, if you want to open up your own clinic, the sky is the limit at that point. But let's be honest, you're not going to get filthy rich in this profession, most of us, but you will have a comfortable living. And on top of that, you'll have a lot of the intrinsic rewards that most people that get into healthcare hopefully are motivated by, which is helping people, feeling the satisfaction reward of innovation, and giving back to your community, those kind of things. I know that that's important, and I know that we want to kind of say that will pay the bills, but at the end of the day, you also have to make a decent salary, right? So 96,000, I would say that qualifies as that. That's in Southern California, so depending on where you go. So if you live in some parts of New York, that'll probably be higher, right? If you live in Iowa, that'll probably be lower. It really just kind of depends on your area. But again, that's median. You could definitely do better than that if you're motivated as well. So another little thing I want to point out on this slide is if you look down here, job outlook 2021 to 31, we're expecting, you can't see this, Ryan, so sorry. We're expecting a 17% increase in the demand for orthotics and prosthetics. So basically, we're going to need a lot of help and a lot of practitioners out there. This is a small field. It's always been a small field. We're definitely growing, and people are becoming more aware of us in the allied health profession. The reality is with an aging population and an increase in vascular disease, this isn't going away anytime soon. You're going to be able to go anywhere and find a job in O&P if you have your credentials. So that's the big thing I like to point out. If I left here today because there's an earthquake or whatever happened and we shut down, I would definitely be able to find a job 10 miles down the road or 3 states over because of my credentials and what I do. And you'll have that same kind of job security as well. There's other things we could talk about, but let's talk about some fun stuff like location. So we are located in sunny Southern California, where we are, within driving distance to a lot of different spots. We have the beaches, we have Disneyland, we have mountains, we have everything around here, sports, entertainment, you name it. So for those of you who live in California, you're probably used to that kind of stuff already. I came from Alabama and I ended up staying out here because of a lot of this stuff. It was really nice out here. It's a lot less humid out here than Alabama, so that was really nice. So the weather's really great. But there's tons of opportunity outside of your professional life here as well. And if you decide to come to this program, we actually try to encourage you to work this into your program, right? We know there's a work-life balance, meaning that, yes, this school is intensive, but we also want you to have fun while you're here. Me especially, I'm all about fun. I was just surfing with students last weekend, right? And so we go out, we always make sure that we're trying to have a good time and get involved somehow. And we'll talk about more of the adaptive sports as well. So back actually 2028. So you guys will probably not necessarily be involved with that directly, but you'll be at the Alumni that is going to be hosting the 2028. Well, we won't be hosting it. That sounds really, really impressive. What we will be doing is we'll be working with Autobot to provide adjustments and services for all the Paralympic athletes, right? So that's going to be a big deal for us since it's going to be here in LA. So that's going to be really fun. And if you do come to this program, I would imagine if you wanted to come back, or if you're in the area, we would definitely get you involved in that process of 2028. So we're really looking forward to that. We're working it out. Muller is the one who's kind of doing a lot of work in that area. So it's really great. He just turned his little screen off. So I imagine he has something to say about that, or.
Yeah, so we actually are hosting. Cal State Dominguez Hills is one of the 8 sites for the Paralympic events. So the neat thing about this 2028 Olympic events and Paralympic events is that this is the first time that any Olympic event has been utilized with existing stadiums and arenas. So they're not building any new arenas for this one. They're actually using everything that's kind of existing already. So Dignity Health Sports Park, where the Rams played, and then where the Galaxy plays, and a lot of others, right on Cal State Dominguez Hills campus, where we're going to be located by then, we'll be hosting actual events there. So that'll be neat, not just doing the repairs, but actually hosting events.
Awesome. Yeah, I like to undersell and overdeliver. So there you go. We're going to be hosting. I like that. See, already impressed. I just put a couple little maps up here just so you can kind of get an idea of where we're located. So the little red dot here, number 1, that's our actual facility, our 12,000 square foot facility right now. Our main campus is that second red dot a little further northwest there. And as Muller mentioned, we are eventually going back up to the main campus. We've been at this facility for, I think, 9-ish years. And we are getting a building built specifically for us, a brand new building built on the main campus for us. The reality is we just never know when that's going to be. We're being told 1.5 years, 2 years, I think, kind of ish, I'm going to put on that. But, you know, it's a big campus, a lot of things that need to get done. So we'll see how that works. My guess is that if you do end up back in that campus, if you get into the 2024 cohort, it'll be kind of the last 6 months. But my guess is, you know, you'll be one of the last classes to kind of get through this facility all the way. But we never know. So there is that to kind of talk about. We can kind of talk about that a little bit more. But if you look at that, we're again, that our current facility, we are about 20-30 minutes from Huntington Beach, 10 minutes from Long Beach. Lots of fun stuff to do around here. And then this map right here is just a map of kind of areas that you can kind of, if you wanted to save a little bit of money as far as housing and living, this is kind of one of the areas that I would do it right around the school. There are certain areas that, we might want to steer you away from, but at the same time, it really kind of depends on, your goals and your goals for your living situation, as far as if you want to live that beach style and live the college life, that Long Beach area is really great. Or if you just want to kind of be right next to the school, so it's very convenient, save some money, bunk up with some people, that's kind of up to you. And then I like this little map right here because I like, again, like I said, having a lot of fun doing activities. And if you just look at this, we're, again, right there on the beach. We're 5-hour drive from San Francisco, from Yosemite, from Vegas, Joshua Tree National Park, we're like a 2-hour drive from. There's tons and tons. Santa Barbara, 2-hour drive. There's so much fun stuff for me. I've been here about 14 years now. I'm still like a kid in a candy shop. I'm like, oh, let's go here this weekend. Let's go there. So definitely, if you want to kind of get out and have some fun, I'm all about kind of facilitating that. Okay, so why the master's program at Orthotics and Prosthetics at CSU? So this is where I'm going to kind of tell you more about our program specifically and kind of what we do really well. Let's start off with the fact that we have 40 years of teaching experience in orthotics and prosthetics. We have a huge alumni network. Why does that matter to you? Well, because that's your network, right? So if you call up a facility looking for a residency or preceptors or looking for a job, and you both went to CSU, that's a kind of foot in the door right there, okay? So 87% of all California CPOs have graduated from this program, 13% nationwide. So that's a pretty big number, okay? So we got tons and tons of people out there. Like I was saying earlier, it's a small field. If I or Ava or Moch doesn't know someone, Muller surely does. He's our social butterfly. He's really good at networking. He knows everyone. He's only been in the field for like 5 years, so it's really impressive how many people he knows. That's a joke. He's He's been doing this for a long time. You wouldn't know it though, he looks so young. So we got a huge network there. The other part of this is kind of what I really like to emphasize here. We are a clinically based program. And what that means is we believe in experience over theory, right? Theory is great. You got to have the theory. You have to have the understanding and how to, you have to have the understanding of, total surface bearing sockets, or understand how these materials and external moments are working. But if you can't apply that, right? If you can't use that theory and actually apply it to a person, then what good is that doing, right? And that's what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. We're seeing people and we're applying that theory, we're applying that information. And so how we structure this program is we have built a program around patient projects and clinical experience. We have 36 patient projects, which is by far more than any other program out there, okay? You also have on top of that 620 hours of external clinical experience as well when you go to practicums, going out to different facilities and getting more clinical experience. So what that means is when you go to residency, you will be productive. You will be productive right away, okay? Now, how quickly you're productive, because let's be honest, you're not going to come out of this program. I know it's a master's program, but you will not graduate as a master in your field. But if you come to this program, you will definitely be ready to work independent very, very soon, okay? And that is what residency directors, that's what employers love to see, okay? They want someone who's going to be productive. And we know, all of us here, faculty here, know that it is our job to make sure that when you leave here, you have a job. And that's another reason why we have developed this program this way. When I say we, I've had a small part of this. Muller's been working on this for a long time. And everyone here has kind of contributed, but I've done a really good job of developing a program that is known for our clinical experience and for our students being very independent and capable when they go out into the profession. So before I go on to, this is kind of my little soapbox, my ad lib here. If trying to be as unbiased as possible, and big disclaimer, I went to this program 14 something years ago. I'm teaching here now, so obviously I have an opinion, but trying to be as unbiased as possible. If I was a student trying to decide if I wanted to be, or what O&P program I'd wanted to go into, I think there's 4 big main considerations. I think number one is probably cost, right? Hopefully you're thinking about money, because unless it's not an issue for you, then awesome, congratulations. But most of us, we have to worry about either funding this or paying this back, okay? So our program, we'll get to the specific cost here in just a second, but it's around $64,000 for the whole thing. So outside of that, if you want to be cheaper than $64,000 for an O&P program, there's only a few schools that you have to have an in-state residency for. So if you have an in-state residence at Washington, Alabama, and I think there's one more, you can get in-state tuition, and I think you can kind of cut that tuition in half. Now, if you're lucky enough, you got one of those, by all means, I say do it, right? Save yourself some coin, but definitely that would be something I would consider, okay? So do a little research on that and double check. But most programs, such as Northwestern, I think they're in the 70s or 80s. I know Baylor's in the 70s and 80s. Loma Linda just greatly cut their costs, but they're still in the 70s. I can't remember everyone's, but yeah, so we're pretty darn affordable outside of those in-state tuition schools, okay? So think about that. Number 2 for me, especially since COVID was kind of recent, we all had to go online for a little bit there, is do you want to be in person or do you want to do your schooling online, okay? Because a lot of these schools are cutting costs by going half online. So you do half the school online and then you do half in person. Now that might be a good option for some of you, because let's be honest, if you have a lot of experience, let's say you were a technician, an O&P technician for the last 4 years, and you could do online schooling and continue to work, that might be worth it. I would definitely say if that's an option, consider that for yourself. But I think a lot of students, especially today, don't have a lot of experience at O&P. And that's where I would say it's really important to go somewhere where you're going to get hands-on clinical experience. That's the only way you're going to be prepared for residency, in my opinion. My opinion, okay? But as a very educated professional. So that would be the other one, cost. online or in person. The third one is is it clinically based, or, are you focused more on research? Most schools are, clinically based, none to the extent that we are. But let's say you're more interested in research than you are seeing patients. If that's your game, then there are a couple universities, a couple programs that, you might be better off at, right? So I think University of Washington, Pittsburgh are really, they emphasize the research aspects of the field. But the truth is, with our new faculty member, Dr. Moch, who's been here for a little over a year, going on 2, I think now, and a couple other faculty members, our research has gotten really, really, really good. But we look at research as a way to better our clinical care. That's the way I see it. Anyways, me personally, I never liked research. I like research in the extent that it helps me to be a better clinician. I don't want to sit in the lab and do numbers all day. Okay, that's not what I came into orthotics and prosthetics for. But if that's your thing, there are maybe 1 or 2 schools better out there for you. Okay, so that would be the third thing: research, clinical base. And the last thing, the fourth thing, would be we have a couple schools who actually have included residencies now. So incorporated residencies, where they actually, you now pay to do that residency instead of getting paid to do a residency, which we'll explain that a little bit more a little bit later. But there might, again, trying to be unbiased here, there might be a benefit in that if you had experience already, because you can get done quicker, which may help you start earning more faster. For me, 4 things: cost, online or not, and then clinically based or research, and then if you want to incorporate a residency. Okay, so those are big 4 things that I would encourage you to look into about yourself. Ask yourself those questions and discover what you want to do. Okay, so that ended up being a pretty long caveat there, so let's kind of jump ahead and kind of keep going. So here's our mission. And I don't really like reading PowerPoints, but I'm going to read this one because we think it's important. And again, we firmly believe that preparing our graduates to be a productive during their residency outweighs the notion of paying to gain experience. Okay, so instead, we prioritize equipping our students with the skills and expertise necessary to excel in their professional careers, setting them on a path of success from the outset. Consequently, our students are well compensated for the clinical knowledge they possess, and they can promptly begin their national board exams following graduation. So basically what that's saying is, we strongly believe in that experience over theory, that clinical experience, coming to a school to get that education, to get your hands on, to see patients, so that when you leave school, you can be productive and competent right out the gate. Just another way of saying that. We really believe in that, and that's why we have 36 patient projects, 620 hours of clinical experience, so on and so forth. So other part of our program is, again, kind of very closely associated with all those learning experience, all those patient projects. We have fun. We're doing a lot of stuff here, okay? We're getting to play with a lot of different materials. We're making sim-arms, we're making, upper extremity, lower extremity, we're doing myo. We're doing all kind of fun stuff. We have a nice, really, really nice facility here with tons of space where we get to make whatever we want. You as students, you have the regular curriculum, and then you have all the extra fun stuff. So that doggo that I showed you at the beginning, Eli and all his friends that come in here, you don't have to do that, but if you want to, there's tons of opportunity for things like that in this program, because we're all about playing with stuff and having fun. And if you're getting into this profession, that's typically the kind of person you are. Like, you want to mess with stuff, you want to try new things and have some fun and explore. So we do lots of those learning experiences. Here's our kind of pediatric day and some of our patients there having a good time. Another part of this is our adaptive sports emphasis, okay? So we kind of talked about 2028 Paralympics coming back, but we are already doing tons of, not Olympic, but adaptive sports. So we had Angel Cities Game, Challenge Athletes Foundations. We have our Parasurf competitions. Almost every weekend we have Triumph. We have something going on where if you want to go have some fun, get involved in the community, you have plenty of opportunity. These are one of those things that we don't necessarily require of you. In fact, this is not a requirement, but this is another one of those extra things that we try to facilitate and emphasize so that when you do get to that residency, that's on your resume. You know, we have one student right now who has really gotten into really started doing a lot of adaptive sports and volunteering with Triumph, and has kind of been their representative. And now that's something that she can carry on into her residency and kind of, market herself as that kind of professional or that kind of expertise in that kind of area. So, and then that also really looks good because now you have kind of referral sources, right? You know where to be, you can kind of see people and kind of get them involved. So it's really, really kind of one of those extra opportunities within our program as well as it's just tons of fun. So these are kind of some of our archery stuff. This is Angel City's game. This is our Challenge Athletes Foundation. Again, our Triumph. Our sled hockey. There's so many things around here that we're doing that's so much fun. So tons and tons of adaptive sports that, almost anything you're into, we have an opportunity for that as far as our adaptive sports. So more about the program specifically. We have 20-month, this is a 20-month program, and it's completed in a sequence. Okay, we start in fall, and you go through in cohorts. So we have 2 cohorts at a time, our first years and our second years, and then we typically have anywhere between 20 to 30 students, right, depending on the year. So right now we have 19 and 14. Before that, we had like 27 and 24. It really just kind of depends on the year, what's going on. But we definitely don't go above 30, at least currently with our faculty. We're trying to keep our faculty-student ratio to at least 1:8. And we do that so that on your patient model days, you definitely get all the one-on-one attention that you need. We come in there and we make sure that you're getting a good experience and the most out of those, okay? So our curriculum, I'm gonna pull up the actual kind of example of that. But our curriculum is kind of focused around our clinical courses, okay? So those are those clinical courses where we emphasize that experience, where we're doing all those patient projects. So we are on a semester system, so fall, spring. But if you've ever been in like a quarter system where it's kind of like 8 or 9 weeks at a time, we almost kind of break it down like that, okay? So basically for the first 8 weeks of the semester, we'll have one clinical course that we focus on. And then the second 8 weeks of the semester, we'll have another clinical course that we focus on. So spring of your first year, your first 8 weeks, you'll be doing lower extremity orthotics 1, which is kind of AFO, SMOs, things like that. And then the second 8 weeks, we'll be doing lower extremity prosthetics 1, which will be kind of transtibial below the, right? So Symes, partial foot, etc. So in those clinical courses, you might be in that clinical course 2.5, 3 days for that one course. And then you'll have 2 or 3 other courses that you might do 2 to 3 hours once a week for the entire 16 weeks, right? So hopefully that makes kind of sense for you. And those other courses, we kind of call those foundational courses because, pathology, you're going to apply to everything. Gait, you're going to apply to all lower extremity. Practice management is going to be applicable to everything, right? So those are kind of those foundational courses that clinical eval, again, another foundational course that you'll use in everything. Those will kind of go the entire 16 weeks, and then they'll be reinforced in the clinical courses as well, okay? So that's kind of how we set that up. We also have 2 big things that we do pretty well here. One is our practicums, which I was telling you, that's that 620 hours of clinical experience, where our first one will actually put you in a facility, whether it's Navy Balboa Medical Center, Shriners, a VA, or a Hanger Central Fab. Will place you in certain places. We try to get you into 5 or 6 different facilities on the first one, so you don't have to do anything. We just put you there. And then the next 2, we actually have you find that practicum. Now, we definitely help, right? We're not going to let you not have a practicum. We're going to help you find it if you need that. But this goes back to that networking and trying to get that job, right? From the very beginning, if you're not kind of communicating, working with people and trying to do all that stuff, then you're not building those soft skills to interview, right? And to build that kind of relationship. We also don't place you in the next 2 because they're over the summer. And a lot of you might come from out of state, and you might want to go back home and do stuff there. So it really kind of depends. It's pretty flexible. We have a lot of people who go actually do mission projects, like range of motion projects down in Ecuador and Guatemala. So we kind of leave it open for a lot of that stuff. But that'll be that other 620 hours of experience with those practicums. And the last thing on here is capstone. That is kind of your culmination of this program. So your last 3 weeks, it sounds pretty scary, but it's really not. Basically, every week you'll see a patient on Monday. You'll evaluate. You have to justify your evaluation to a faculty member. Then you have to actually execute that treatment plan and fit on Thursday, and then justify your fitting. And then on Friday, we'll either do a written exam, a written sim, or some kind of practical exam. And the reason why we set it up that way sounds kind of pretty brutal, but the reason why we set it up that way is because we're trying to get you ready for ABC exam. And if you don't know what that is, we'll explain that a little bit more, but that's the actual accreditation you'll still need to get after your degree to be a licensed certified practitioner, okay? So we kind of end our program with that so that you know that process, which is going to be very similar to your ABC exam, and you've seen it before, you're prepared, you're ready to go, and by that point you're already done 30-something projects, so this should be pretty easy for you. It does get a little stressful just because there's a lot of work, but we've had, since I've been here, I've never had anyone kind of really fail out on that, okay? In fact, we've only had 1 or 2 people take a break and then come back. You usually don't get in this program unless you're pretty confident, we're pretty confident that you're going to make it, right? That's the last thing you want to do, is have you spend a lot of time and money in here and not get all the way through. So if you're getting into this program, you should feel confident you're going to finish. So here's an example of the curriculum we kind of talked about, and you're going to see a lot of stuff on there. So that might not really make a lot of sense to you, but how it works is basically, clinical course, first 8 weeks, clinical course, next 8 weeks. And then we have the foundational courses running through there. But you'll see we'll start in fall year 1, and you're finishing up in spring year 2. Over the summer, you have a clinical practicum. That's where you have to get 240 hours of experience at a facility of your choice. And if you can't find one, we'll help you find one. And then you have directed research, which is kind of online at that point. So your summer is not really in school, but it's not really free either, right? It's not like you're just off for the summer. You have quite a bit more freedom, but you still have to be participating in the practicum and some of the directed research, okay? But you'll end on that spring year 2 with that capstone activity. And we can answer any questions about that later and explain it further if you need to. Here's that cost of program I mentioned earlier. So part of me, I was a little off. So it's right under 65. So it's like $64,500 for the total program. That does not include the costs of living. But again, I kind of mentioned that already. I won't reiterate that, but definitely, my opinion, pretty affordable when you look at some of the other programs. Unless you can get that in-state tuition, then definitely look into that research, see if that's a good program for you. Also, too, I don't want to pick on like DPTs or other allied health professionals here, but the reality is this is a 2-year program, 20-month program, that total cost of program. I know DPTs are like, they average like 120 to 3 years, physician assistants, kind of similar stuff. So, definitely OTs, you might find a few definitely cheaper, but really depends on what you want to do. Hopefully money is important, cost and managing your finances, but hopefully also you're making choices based on what's going to be the best fit for you, right? So we all have to balance that in life. So just trying to give you numbers and things to kind of compare to hopefully help you do that. Okay, so life after the master's program, we talked about that residency. I've mentioned it a few times. So once you graduate, you're not quite done yet. You still have to do a residency, but that is a paid residency. It's 18 months. And here at CSUDH, we have a 100% placement rate, okay? We haven't had a student come through here that could not get a residency. And you get them pretty quick, right? Our students usually do not struggle finding a residency. Now, if you have something very specific in mind, and this is like the one example I can think of, but I had one student who really wanted to work at a VA in Austin, Texas, because their partner had gotten a job there and they were going to be there. Well, we can't make the VA have a residency, right? But they waited till the next year when it became available, and then they pretty much got it right away, right? So even though they didn't get a placement immediately, that person, I remember them very clearly, were a very smart, competent person. They could have gone anywhere they wanted and got a residency just like that. So there are certain things that are out of our control, right? So if you want to be in a specific geographic location, then I recommend you do really good in the program so that you have a really good resume to show them. But otherwise, you can find a residency pretty much anywhere. So again, after that residency, you will have a board exam to take. And we have an 87% pass rate for a first-time test taker. That's pretty good. I think that puts us at like number 2 or number 3. I think I saw one that was a 91% the last time I looked. So we're right up there, okay? So again, what that means to you is if you pay attention, you put in the effort, you're probably going to pass that ABC board exam on the very first time. And that's that usually around that 3-year mark. And that's usually when you're going to start making that 96,000, okay? Oh, which I should mention too. So when you leave the program, you start your residency. It is a paid residency. You will probably start mid-50s to low 60s in Southern California, okay? Now, I know in Southern California, that is not a lot. Trust me, I know. When I started my residency in Southern California, I was making 40, okay? It was definitely different, 14 years ago, the cost of living, et cetera. But you move up pretty quickly. Those bumps in pay come pretty quickly. And as long as you stay on track, you pass that ABC exam, you'll be up in that 90, mid-90s. And by the time you get there, hopefully you're making more, and you'll be living pretty comfortably at that point. Pretty good board exam rates, reputation for competency and excellency in our profession. We really do have that. We try really hard to maintain that reputation because, again, the better you do out there, the better we're going to do, right? So if you go out there and you're a leader in the field, right? If you're an innovator, if you're the president, the ABC, or pardon me, of AOPA or the academy, and you're a CSUDH alumni, not only are we proud of that, we want to see that. We're proud of you. Typically, we get really close with our students. We have really great relationships beyond the program. So it's really rewarding for us to see you excel in that way. But also a little bit selfishly, that looks really good for us, right? And we love to see that. So we're really trying to make sure we maintain that reputation and push you guys to be leaders in the field. And Muller will tell you all about owning the profession and failing for and all that stuff later. But yeah, we really emphasize that here in the program. Okay, so application deadlines. I'm trying to hurry this up. I told you underneath an hour. I'm squeaking in here. Fall 2024 application deadlines is February 2nd. You got a couple of choices as far as applying. If you want to send out a lot of information, or pardon me, if you want to apply to a lot of different schools, there's the OpCast system. It's $150 for the first 345 every additional application. My recommendation is if you have 2 or 3 schools that you're really interested in, apply directly, because you're going to have to probably pay a fee to those universities, no matter what, application fee. So apply directly. But if you want to apply to like 10 programs, then yeah. But if you got 2 or 3 that you want to apply to, just apply directly. For us, if we get a direct application, we kind of prioritize that application, meaning that we're going to review it quicker, bump that kind of interview up faster, and then kind of get that answer back to you sooner so that you can make decisions. Because for us, we want to commit to the people that are committed to us, okay? So if you really like the reputation of CSUDH and you kind of prioritize that, to me, that means that, hey, you know what this program is about and you're ready to come in here and do good work, hard work, and I want to work for you the same way. So basically, if we see that, we do that for you. Okay, so admission basics into the CSUDH program. You need to have completed your undergraduate by our start date of the program. That means if you're finishing up in the summer, that's fine as long as you're done by our start date in August, okay? So if you have to kind of take any prerequisites or finish up your undergraduate, totally fine. You can get that done as long as it's done by the start date of our program. Listed here are the prerequisites that are required. If you're not sure if you have all of those, let us know. Some of these might be met in some of your courses. So we have kinesiology students that might have a statistic course that will kind of count towards that statistics prerequisites. So if you're not sure, before you start spending a bunch of extra money or extra time, maybe check over your transcripts. And if there's something that looks close, just shoot us a quick email. We can kind of help you with that, okay? So prerequisites, undergraduate degree, 2.7 or higher. The higher that GPA is, the better it's going to look. But we've learned here that GPA isn't the end-all be-all. We have plenty of people that have come in here with, sub-3 GPAs that ended up really doing awesome because they finally found something that they were interested in and committed to. So we understand that that's not everything, but it does help to have that GPA a little bit higher, okay? So what really matters to us is these prereqs, if you've done really well in those, or if your GPA isn't great, but you got, a couple hundred hours of experience of shadowing somewhere, again, that's showing me that you found something that you're really excited about and you're committed to it. And I'm really able to kind of work with you on that at that point, okay? The bare minimum, we need 40 hours of volunteer experience, and that is just so that you know what you're getting into, okay? I don't want you to get in this program 1 semester, 2 semester in, spend all that money and time, and then, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And then you end up kind of changing and bailing out, right? Because now, one, that looks bad on us, but that's really hard for you. Like, how do you bounce back from that, right? Because you just invest a lot of time and money into that, and you got nothing to show for it, right? So 40 hours for us is the minimum for us to feel like you know what you're getting into. If you can get more than that, really, really, really encouraged. So for more information, there's tons of emails there. I'm kind of your main point on this one. So my name is Mark Cromer. That's my email. I will point you in the right direction after that if I can't help you. Elizabeth Rollo is our administrator. She is really the one who kind of keeps us honest about application information, all that stuff. And then Mark Muller is going to talk here in just a second, is our chair, who will give you lots of good information. These are online resources. Don't worry about that right now, but there's a lot of good information there as well if you want to kind of look into that. So that being said, I think Muller's chomping at the bit to say something, but we also want to make sure we answer your question. Okay, so let's start with Muller.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cromer. That was awesome overall. Again, we're going to do a little bit of a tour kind of through our facility. And, one of the big things for this, like Mr. Cromer said, is we really try to make sure you understand we are here to get you a job. We want more people in this profession. It's an awesome profession. We really love it. You don't really get these rewarding kind of professions out there. I mean, we're helping people every single day. We're working with geriatric population, pediatric population, pets, doing new technology. The really one of the really fun parts about this is kind of every holiday party or party you go to, people ask you, you make what? You do artificial limbs and you know this and that. So you're always kind of part of the conversation and the interest that's in there. And it's well deserving because this is a really great profession. And that's one of the big things that we want is when you do get here in August, that you are kind of committed to the profession. And you'll learn a whole bunch more about the profession, but you have to have that understanding. We don't make fitters, we don't make assistants, we don't make people that kind of just do stuff. We make leaders. We make the people that own their profession. We make people that will run the research lab. We make people that are going to work at the Department of Defense and write their research papers through that. So it's the ability to own that when you get here, and that's when you really kind of love it and kind of go through all the little pieces and things that we have to do with that one. So with that, we will definitely just want you to know that there are quite a few people that do apply to the program. We typically get anywhere from 70 to 100 applications for our 25 to 30 seats. And we want to make sure that the people that really want to be here are the ones that get in. So that's why we kind of have that direct application also. The OPCAS, the OP Central Application System, is a great one to use if you're thinking about multiple schools. It is way more expensive than going directly with us, which is free. But you have more opportunities for other schools with that one. So if you do want to do the direct application, again, we give priority on that, a faster interview and setup. We have